There is nothing more miserable for me than the awareness, at least thus far, there has not been anything more miserable to me than the awareness that in many instances I will be someone's lesson, and that is it. Not that I don't get to like reconcile the lesson. I don't get to go, yo, that wasn't my intention. I don't get to fix it. Yeah. I just exist as a lesson to this person. That's it. Yeah. That shit fucking sucks as a habitual people pleaser.
Oh, are you a habitual people pleaser?
I think a lot of us are, but I definitely come from that background of like doing things in order to keep the people around me happy. So like the awareness that like, yo, you just finna be some people's like lesson as far as like, oh, I'll never do that again. Yeah. Because that. Or because you. Yeah. In terms of like being someone's lesson, the grief of just like not being able to control the way in which you leave a mark. Like there's some people who are going to make better decisions for their life because now they hate you.
And I don't know if you do this for yourself, but like, I think because of the work that you do and the knowledge that you sometimes are kept with, you need to unpack that. And people need to hear, hey, we're actually managing a lot of things. Actually, the people that are coming to our class, this is what they're looking for. Because we need people to challenge us with, well, what does that look like? And it's like, I'm glad you asked. Facts. Because then we get to have that discussion. And a lot of people don't realize that discussion isn't a one-time thing. That discussion isn't just this one talk we're having. We want you to have the discussion with your people, and they have the discussion with other people, and they come back to the class, and we all start talking. Because you grow faster together than you do alone. You get what I'm saying? And like, you know, you get a lot of opportunities to do stuff alone, but doing it together with people, that takes work and foundation. Sometimes resources are hard because time is always going to be your greatest resource.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it's the one that you have the least amount of. All right, well, this is another episode of Mental Health Monday. Here with another episode of my boy Neil. What's up, man? How are you?
Chilling.
You got an event coming up for these folks. Tell the folks about the event.
So we have started this new offering at Eaton Hotel.
Is it a series?
Yeah, this is going to be ongoing. Okay. So this is going to be for the foreseeable future. We're going to be doing men's healing circles on like the third or fourth Saturday of every month. And so the idea is just creating a space devoted to vulnerability, openness, sharing, and accountability.
So the Wednesday that we're starting, is that going to lead on to the Saturday, or Wednesday is where?
No, this is its own thing
right now. Okay.
Yeah. So this Wednesday, the Wednesday men's healing groups are, we'll say, like isolated. Yeah. Sacred Exchange on Saturdays will always have components that feed into things that we talk about, because it's like the whole slate of programming is really just lifestyle stuff. Yeah. It's designed to just for you to have a holistic look at your life through the lens of your relationships, through your passions, through your goals, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. So making sure how you do everything is patterned. Yeah. And so they're connected in that sense. But as far as like the focus and the audience, those Wednesdays of the men's healing circle is specifically for that audience, that group of people, and issues or journeys that they're going to be going through. The other stuff is for everybody,
Women.
I've been getting questions, for real. I've been getting.
They want us to do things.
They want, and I'm like, I don't know if that means a women's healing circle or if that means just a
unit of
community healing circle. Yeah. But I have 100% had people in the DMs like, yo, this is really dope. I'm gonna send my man, or I'm gonna send my brother, or my cousin.
Yeah.
But like,
you saw last night's comment. You saw it.
Yeah.
favorite people.
Yeah.
I said, hey, on the list.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
But from there, there's like, but what about this group? Or like, what if we could do it over here? So I think there's kind of two sides to that. One is if you want the space, invitation is always the quickest way to get me to respond.
Yeah.
If you invite me to something and say, I would like for you to do this thing here,
Pull up, hop out and chat.
I'm finna be there.
Yeah.
If you are waiting for me to do it, it's gonna be prompted by the needs of the community. So again, the invitation is still gonna be fastest route.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. Are you comfortable with that?
With
And what
invitation,
I'm asking you about is are you comfortable with doing that? Are you comfortable with being the one that feeds that need as a man? Because I know you people as just people first before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But what I usually question is, hey, would you be open to shopping around for women that you think would be a good fit to work alongside that?
Oh, I'm all about collaboration.
Yeah.
I'm all about collaboration.
I know who they are.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
I am vehemently against the like man being an island thing, a person being an island thing. So
You gotta explain that.
no one is designed to do it by themselves. Like there's not a version of existence that occurs in the individual. Even when we deal with like the men's healing circle, I could do it by myself. It'll be a lot more effective bringing you. It'll be a lot more effective partnering with other men in the space and creating something bigger because it's not about me. So when it comes to the healing space in mixed genders and mixed rooms and stuff like that, it's still not about me. So I want to make sure there are people there that represent the folks that are walking in the door because everyone's not like me. They might enjoy the perspective, they might enjoy the fit, they might enjoy whatever it is that they enjoy, but it doesn't mean that it's reflective of them in a way that they can integrate the information.
Yeah.
So it's more important to me that like representatives are present, and my job as a facilitator is to provide access to those representations, but I don't have to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
So to the point about the meditation thing, that's what I was getting at. The meditation thing is like the deeper you sink into that space of being.
Yeah.
And this is why it's hard for me. It was actually until you asked the question and thought about it, but it was hard for me to answer the process versus movement thing because it is that like every moment is the meditation, which becomes an extension of the process.
Yeah.
So like, I took a 45-minute train ride in from Baltimore. The whole time my eyes are closed. The vid's on the left side of me. My eyes are closed. I'm just doing breath work and just letting grief cycle through, letting emotions cycle through, letting whatever thoughts are marinating cycle through.
Yeah.
The level of like what occurs as nonchalance is really just me literally not being attached to any aspect of it. So it's like, I'm so in the conversation, I'm not thinking about the fact that was even an interview. I forgot. Like I was just cleaning sneakers talking.
Yeah.
So it's not until you say it that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a piece of content that's gonna go out later. Like,
None of the questions I asked you were questions I thought about either.
yeah.
Like this week or anything. I was like, I just sitting down to talk to me is more important to be caught on camera than asking all the right questions. You could always come back. You could always have another interview, especially if it comes to people are going to be on quite often. You don't have to squeeze all the fruit for the juice. This is going to be your very last interview. And especially, I think which is most important is now you get to work with people. So like between you and Dr. Jones, the pediatrician who I work with that's a full-time host, me getting to learn you guys from seeing you work, seeing you put events together. Like even when I asked you for the flyer, I was like, damn, you should have sent me the flyer like days ago once we agreed to do it. But then the other thought that followed that was like, yeah, but you never asked for the flyer. So no one's supposed to know urgency or, oh, let's share this early if you don't ask. And the only reason you're thinking about it is because you finally have time because you've been that busy, which means that been busy too. So what we talking about? And being willing to have that conversation, that's growth. Because it's like, oh, you don't just see the full picture. You also understand like, hey, if something didn't happen when you build newer relationships with people and you get to know them, it can't always just be them. It has to be you. And I'm very big, even when it comes to myself, on, hey, what part of that interaction am I responsible for? And am I calling myself out correctly? Like, I'm not fucking perfect at this shit. I'm good at what I do. I have a lot of likability points. Like, if I was a character that was built on, like, Pokemon, I'd be, like, 90 in the likability points. And I think I treat my relationships like right now with everyone, I have all this likability. And are you doing things to lessen your likability, or are you maintaining that and just, making the right decisions with folks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the phenomenal fucking track. That track that you was on IG, that shit touched me.
Oh.
Yeah, I heard that track. I was like, oh, this is gangster. That's why I picked my track. I was like, all right, if that's the track you're leading with it,
bro.
Okay, I gotta.
Everything's
okay. And then I was just gonna cut your message, and I was like, I don't think that's doing this justice. I think I should write something personal here, because for you, I don't want to say it's monotonous, but you do this a lot, like posting for an event, posting for an event. And I think me bringing someone like me on, it's my job to make it personal, because it's my first time doing something with you publicly. And people need an explanation of, well, what brought Juice back here?
Right.
Because people enjoy what I'm doing. I don't think there's a lot of demand. I think there's a lot of requests. Requests and demands are different. Demands is, he was supposed to be there, he wasn't there, he said he'd be there, what's going on? Request is, people respect you're not in the thing, but when they talk to you, it's like, hey man, so you haven't done events in a while?
Yeah.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Right.
Everything good, checking in.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I don't want to fuck up this great thing I have with you, okay? So, but if you do, can you let us know? That's a request. Right. Yeah. And I'm good at measuring that out, especially with the folks, man, because having these people around us is important. Well, actually, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the people that we serve and their thoughts about you? I think that's a good starting point. Do you think about that?
No.
I realize now I'm able to pick up on your side a little bit better. Like, hey man, you might be asking your boy about things that he doesn't have to make space for, because he's always delivered.
Yeah. I don't think it's not worth thinking about. I don't.
Yeah.
I think to that point, what's actually funny is when I'm doing collaborative work with people, when they're overly concerned, I get annoyed.
Oh.
I'm like, yo, you're actually making this way more difficult than it needs to be. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because you can always adjust and respond and improve.
Mm-hmm. And also, you doing it, you get to make mistakes if there's a mistake.
Yeah.
And we fix that. And if there's not a mistake, okay, we're going in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Or we're not. It's just it's just worth considering, bro. Do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? And if you want to be effective, it's not going to be about what you think it's supposed to look like. So to that point, when it comes to an offering like this, I think progressively, the topics probably get more and more loose, right? Because you want to provide room for people to bring what they want healed. The whole point of the healing circle is for everyone to leave the circle healed. So if I'm coming in and I'm like, you only get to heal these boo-boos over here, it's that's not a very effective healing circle. You could have just said this is specifically for people impacted by this trauma.
Yeah.
So I think that when you're doing a community offering like that, it becomes really important to open the doors as wide as possible and serve who shows up. But I don't think that a barbecue restaurant is concerned about the customers who showed up and critique the food on the basis of wanting Chinese. It's like you're not even in your right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
for
a
me to
different
take
culinary experience.
Yeah, it's like to take on, honestly, whenever it comes to critique, if it comes to critique from someone in the space, I don't take anything personally. If you have critique, it's not that I'm not accepting it, but my initial response is probably going to be like, I'm excited to see what you do with that. And it's not a challenge like you can't do what I did. It's very much like you should do that because it came to you.
Same.
I didn't think that.
Yeah.
I thought of this.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you showed up. The thing you thought of sounds really dope. Let me know when that's happening. I don't have to do it. I'm not bound to that. I'm not obligated.
Yeah.
So I don't care.
It's not even that that's your thing and this is my thing. It's simply, hey, if that's your thing or you're able to do that thing, I would simply like to see it. Yeah.
Or also, then the other thing is, this is another diffuser. Just opening a room up for collaboration in that.
Yeah.
So like, oh, I would love to see this and there. Yo, I'd love to sit and talk with you about how we can make that happen. What's your time like? Do you have like space to invest in that? Like,
Yeah.
Because I'm not being paid to do this. So if you want to pay me to do it, then you can pay me to do it. If you want to collaborate with it, I think that'd be a great offering to the community.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna take on the weight of like,
No.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
it's that I think it's funny. It's happening a lot in the media right now with Ta-Nehisi Coates, where it's like this question around like other perspectives, and he's like, there are talking heads for those people. The Palestinians don't have a voice. So talking to me about what parts of the conversation I'm not bringing to the forefront, when the people that you're talking about advocating for, they have advocacy. It's available to them freely. Like they don't need me.
Yeah.
It's that. It's like the areas in which people would want to join critique ad are not areas that are of like passion enough for me to bring them. So I would just invite your whole self. Like bring it in.
Yeah.
I don't got room.
Yeah. Do you find the space to make these things happen, or do you feel that they found you?
It's a little of both.
Okay.
There was, to use Eaton as an example, shout out to Tara Parnell.
Yeah. You said that directly into the camera, so like.
Shout out to Tara Parnell.
Okay.
She was, and even as an extension of that, shout out to Yogi, the shooter, and the art hype, who
Two great names.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those brothers brought my content to Tara. Tara was impressed by the content, hired me for a reading, came in to Eaton, did the reading thing. She was like, oh, we have to work with you more. She has since then left Eaton to pursue some other things that she's working on, which like right now the stuff that she has in the works is really dope. Like she just got a grant from the city to do some really cool work. It's gonna be a dope 24 hour.
Okay, I bet.
Yeah,
All right.
she got a residency thing going on. TaraAura, if you are looking for her on Instagram, TaraAura. So TaraAura.
Oh, really? Okay, not ORA. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. But she brought me into Eaton, and then Denise, who is the director of wellness at Eaton now, who was introduced to me around that time, brought me further into the fold of like programming, and now we've created this like weekly programming where, you know, I'm there every Saturday. We have the men's healing circle on the third Wednesday of every month, third or fourth Wednesday, depending on the month.
So like being there every Saturday.
It's been dope, and it's been a huge learning opportunity. I think oftentimes it's easy to walk into a space with your confidence inflated by the knowledge that you have, and then it becomes easy to be humbled by the lack of experience that you may have. So what I've been able to do since being brought into Eaton,
Just drop some bars.
they have
Yeah.
provided so much room for me to mature my offering.
Okay.
And that's really what's taking place at Eaton. It's like, when it comes to my art, I'm a multi-hyphenate. When it comes to my wellness offerings, I'm a multi-hyphenate. Like I offer a lot of different things, and so it can be tough for me to see all of myself in one space. Going in there, I was so averse to being put in a box that I was like, oh, different event every week. Denise was a big part of helping me go like, hey, if we just define the slot as like yours and you can fill it with whatever you want, and how can we make this a more consistent thing so people know what they're getting, rather than like, oh, I missed that offering last month and now this month it's a completely different slate of offerings, and they don't have an anchoring point for like, well, what do I go to nil for? So I think Eaton has done a lot to help me mature my offering and present something that's a little bit more neatly packaged when it comes to what I'm trying to provide people with.
Okay. What have you observed in these classes? I remember before we had this sit down, I was like, look, I would like for you to start coming up and updating me on what are you observing from the people that you're serving in these classes.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a part of the process that's not often spoken on. Like, I think a lot of people, when they show up to something, they're like, man, I saw this in advertising. That's what I'm getting. And it's like, actually, when you showed up, this is what you got. And here's why that's cool, that this is what you receive from showing up.
There's a few things that I've noticed. One is, okay, so this would be a piece of encouragement too for anyone else getting into like really any space. You don't know your customer until you meet them.
Yeah. You can say that again. You can say that again.
When it comes to any offering, you don't know your customer until you meet them. So up until that point,
where's the microphone?
Oh yeah, you're right. Where did this go? Here we go.
Yeah. I'd say just read. Yeah. No, you could do the fashion thing. I'd say just put it underneath the chain on your shirt instead, so you could keep like modifying as you go. Because that's all I was like, oh, microphone, because it's gonna come up different without it. So, well, yeah. And remember, there's a magnet on the back too if you want to do it underneath the shirt if you don't want to clip it to anything directly.
Oh no, I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You don't know your customer.
Yeah, you don't know your customer until you meet them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that surprised me was age range and economic background. For some reason, and I got no problem with it, but people who got money come see me.
They said,
people who got money come see me.
FY young man.
And what I've noticed is they're usually, it's not that they're older enough than me to invalidate whatever impact I would think to have.
Yeah.
But they're older enough than me that they are focused on a very different aspect of life. And for them, there's almost nothing more helpful than just the additional perspective or that new perspective. But it's an informed perspective. I think when we talk about remaining in the presence of younger people in order to stay sharp and flexible, some of that is informed by the experience of the younger person, in the sense that like at 30 something, there's certain experiences you should look to get from like your 25-year-old friend, but a grand portion of them are not experiences that you need to try to extract meaning from.
Yeah.
At 40 something, 50 something, getting something from your 30 or your 45-year-old friend, that's a completely different thing now.
Yeah.
And so what I've found is that there's been an exchange where the things that I'm dealing with in my present life that I do not have a handle on, these people have it like reflex.
Yeah.
But emotionally, spiritually, in terms of being connected to their work, in terms of being connected to their social circles or their relationships, that's where they're finding a lot of disconnect. That's where they're finding a lot of distance.
Yeah.
And the biggest aha moment of the last couple months is there's a pressure when you show up in the space of guidance and spirituality to be the guru. And it's the realization that I am not the guru. I'm the bridge. I literally just bring people across, and now I'm like, you're here with everybody else. Have fun. I'm not here to be like your start to finish tour guide. I transport people from like the edge of what they're experiencing on this side into, okay, now we can start thinking about things in a different way. We're like now bridging into this more interconnected, holistic, spiritual way of seeing things. But I am nobody's guru. In most spiritual practices, even at my big age, I would be an acolyte, like corner of the room student, right? Most teachers in the spiritual space, they don't really get their start until like 50s, 60s, 70s.
And that's because you're supposed to live life before speaking.
100%.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of people in the space, and it's something that I try to be aware of, where it's like knowing the limitation of your experience. Everybody wants to be Sadhguru. And it's like, bro, you're 28.
Yeah.
You have no business trying to get someone to enlightenment, alignment coach. But I'm not here to enlighten you.
I think there's a misconception of because you have people's intention, you have to have something to deliver, and sometimes simply having their attention is what you're delivering. They would like to pay attention to you because they enjoy what you're doing. And I think when it comes to the content space and a lot of the work that we do publicly, we sometimes put unnecessary expectations of, oh, I started this thing, I did all these things, now I have to be a particular way. And it's like, no. They showed up because you are already what you are right now. Continue that and edit that part of who you are depending on where the journey is taking you and who you need to be for that journey that you're on.
I think that there's not enough said for the fight or flight responses that benefit us in the short term.
Yeah.
And so when you are going through life perpetually oppressed, the moment you get supported and that manifests materially, your reaction to just pour into that is coming from survival. It's not coming from, that's not like explicitly a blessing. It may be a blessing, but having no room for there to be any like polarity around that and seeing both sides of the coin puts you in a position where now you're seeking out and chasing affirmation through this thing continuing to show up because you're so desperate for affirmation. And I think a lot of people in the wellness space experience that. They come from backgrounds where they're not affirmed for their perspective, they're not affirmed for their sensitivity, they're not affirmed for their intimacy or connectedness with people. And at the point that it does become affirmed, it's through an economy of attention. And so they get pushed into content creation, and you abort the growth of something that otherwise could have been really beautiful in other aspects. Same thing occurs for music, where it's like the genre that you're accepted in, like Post Malone, people love Post Malone. I have a complicated relationship with his artistry. To put it lightly.
I think a lot of people do now, but keep going, I'm listening.
Because you come out and you do the White Iverson thing.
Which was a hit, and it was amazing.
Amazing record. Not the records you're doing today.
Now,
which are also hits and amazing records.
There would be nothing wrong with that if he didn't deny.
And that's what I was going to touch on. So once you go, yo, I don't make this kind of music, and I make this kind of music. Once you create a socio-politicized version of distance between your onboarding audience and who now receives you.
Now we all feel that.
And I have to deal with like the dejected, right? And so it's like
you've rejected what we built that you were part of, even if it was parasocial.
And so
that's correct, right? Parasocial, that would be the great example of that.
Cool. So it doesn't invalidate how good the music is today, but it puts a taste in my mouth.
And mouthwash isn't doing anything about that taste
at all. And now I have to sit with that. I have to hold that in the relationship. So I think like to that point, maybe White Iverson was a record that he was like really passionate about. Like he did write it, he performed, he did all the things. And maybe we go as far as like creating art and doing this music video and like, yo, I'm trying to say a thing. Capitalism puts you in the box where we need 12 more White Iversons and I need you to tour 2 albums off of that. And now when you go to do your thing, there's contrast. There's opposition in a way that feels gross, it feels messy. Or like it lacks authenticity.
The other side of that is, so all those moments we had with you, all those concerts, all those other songs that you gave us, for example, Big Sean Wolves. He was featured on that.
Yeah.
There's other tracks I could reference that don't come
Congratulations,
right
joined with Quavo.
What was that one that was, Congratulations, Quavo. That was the one that he just did for the college football. When you type in college football, his song was used all throughout that, right?
Yeah.
And it did some amazing songs. And it's like, when you listen to it, you're like, nah, these songs are hip hop. And then the other side of that, which is the other layer outside of just him, is Beyonce and how she's treated within country music. And the folks in country music, they reject her in terms of the association, right? And they're like, well, that's not country. And it's like, well, your biggest country star you guys have an example of, I just watched a whole YouTube video about it, their beats are the same exact beats, so what's the difference?
I have a personal philosophy on it.
Yeah.
Genre is a form of racism to invalidate what black music is.
Yeah.
American music is black music, period.
Yeah.
You can't get around that. You do enough research and you know enough history. It's black music. So genre is just a way for you to take black out of the music and replace it with some other nomenclature that allows for you to
Moose gonna post with fall. You didn't see it moving?
Like Kung Fu belongs to Chinese people. Martial arts, though, that's everybody.
Yeah.
So mixed martial arts prevents us from having to adhere to a expectation of mastery.
Yeah.
And now I can just cherry pick what I want. Now, granted, in the philosophy of martial arts, does that work or is that more effective? Sure.
Yeah.
But the point of martial arts was never to fight. So now we're talking about bastardizing discipline and making it entertainment.
Yeah.
And again, these are all extensions or examples of just like racism as it's applied to art forms and meditative practices.
Yeah.
In order to remove the cultures that inspired those things.
Yeah. That was a bar. Just want to let you know that. That's a great bar. Great bar. Class.
Yeah.
How many different classes have you taught since our last sit down? Like when you think about what's being delivered or what people want from you. This look is amazing. I gotta go back to this look. Serve it right now. Boss.
Damn. Well, as far as the number, I don't know, probably like 15, 20, something like that in the end. The recent thing has probably been intimacy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say that. Like, we put up the joint, we talked about therapy.
Yeah.
I put up other content, talked about some other things. When I talked about ethical non-monogamy, when I talked about open relationships,
that reaction opens up a whole door. Everyone, people I knew who I didn't know were going through it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's exactly my point. There were 3 people whose comments I saw, and I was like, oh, everyone.
Not a lot of
but
DM,
a lot of people.
It was DM heat, because the other thing is, people don't want to put their relationship on blast.
Of course.
So they're experiencing the event or they're experiencing the thing, and the interview or that clip just gave them a basis to kind of go like, okay, this is grounded in a real thought. Like,
they probably sent that to their person or their people.
Maybe. I think for most people, I'll say this, what I got a lot of were people confronting the weight of what monogamy expects as far as how they show up as a partner. So it's like, it was being given permission to exhale from the weight of having to be everything to that person. And whether that's weight that you've put on, whether it's weight that they've put on consciously or subconsciously, or directly or indirectly, the weight being addressed by way of logic. This doesn't make sense. That was the permission piece for most people to jump into the DM and go like, yo, I've been trying to put words to it, and you just said it in a way that now I'm like, yeah, I'm not crazy, I'm not selfish, I'm not overly lustful, or like not rooted in my relationship, or I don't not love my partner enough. It's just this one person is not supposed to be my end all be all. Sure. That also means that you need to contextualize what those other relationships and forms of support look like so you can responsibly hold and manage them.
That's what boundaries are.
Right.
Yeah. And, I'm not a part of that community.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, I'm the other side of the coin. I'm like, I'm in a relationship and blah, blah, blah. But I can see all those point of views, and I'm like, yeah, no, you do need that for that kind of relationship. If the person you've dated for 3 years realizes handling this relationship is too much for me, or I'm not getting from you what I hope we would have gotten, and we've talked about a lot, either they have to be honest with you about, hey, I want more, and you don't have that more, but I don't want you to feel bad about not having that more, right? Or you want more, and I don't have that more, and I think it would be okay to give you permission to go find that somewhere else, but understand you still have me. And people are terrified of that because it's like, that is called cheating. And it's like, no, cheating is when you do that behind someone's back.
Yeah.
Cheating is when you do things without permission. Cheating is when you've decided something and you're not taking into account the other person's feelings, perspectives, and really having a discussion of what does this change after.
Yeah.
And I think that is a crux that crushes a lot of relationships, because it's, you don't care about my feelings. And it's like, no, I care about your feelings. That's why I'm making space for us to have this conversation honestly. Because even if you don't like it or not, it is a necessary conversation for our current relationship. And it also gives you an opportunity to make a decision of, do you really want this relationship or not? Which is like, I don't like speaking in fair and unfairs, but that's really as good as it's going to get in where we are right now.
And that kind of is my thing with it. It's like, I think a lot of...
Was that point on? Was that like on with the explanation?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the E&M, poly, like all that stuff, I think it's a factor of two things. One, it's a factor of like generationally, like I don't, obviously there's an older generation that is less likely to engage in this type of dating dynamic.
Unless that's to do with sugar.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then there's the idea that like, honestly, like economics and like coastal communities are engaging with this a lot more. There's population density, resource sharing, things like that.
Yeah.
So all of these things kind of factor into or contribute to relationship dynamics. Like even if you look at the indigenous roots of this way of movement, where it's like just village interconnectedness, there's a need to share those resources. There's a need to share those connections. So I think in the loneliest time that people have ever experienced, there's maybe a logical part at the forefront that's like, yo, get better at relationships. And then there's the other part of it where it's like, yeah, I need more at-backs though, because like we don't have enough foundations or anchors that allow for me to continually build on conflict management and reconciliation and stuff like that. Someone is more likely to move to another country within the 5 years that you know them than it was 20 years ago, where it's like, I'm gonna be around this motherfucker, so I gotta figure this out.
You know
what I mean?
Actually, like, I'm not an idiot.
It's a hyper transient.
You know what
I'm saying? So it's like there's a lot of other components that go into it. But I think the other thing that goes into it is just the age group that you're in, because I'm also like, I'm 36. As I approach that phase of life, I start looking at partnership through a completely different lens, where what I was being motivated by in terms of connection in like from 20s into 30s was about growth. It was about learning. It was about exposure. It was about maturity. Now, partnership starts to look more like I'm not always going to be able to take care of myself. And I don't mean just from the sense of like, oh, well, like, so I need someone to do this thing for me. It's like just literally like I have 2 hands, 2 feet. And there's a wealth of things that will be asked of me that will require more than 2 hands and 2 feet. And the same will go for anybody else. So partnering is a natural part of dealing with that weight and that burden. And the other thing is like from the experiences of being more explorative and just seeking and seeking experience and connection. those are the things that now facilitate my awareness of how to maintain connection, how to maintain intimacy, in order for those longer relationships to occur. So I think there's a balance, and I'm also, again, at this bridge or transition point between relating for this reason and relating for this reason.
Yeah.
And because there's more nuance here around relation, the dynamics have a lot more room.
Yeah. I think there was something you brought up in the other discussion we had over there before we moved to this set. You're good on the communication part. Mm-hmm. What was the thing you said you're not so good on?
Comprehension.
Comprehension?
Yeah, communication
That's
versus
what the issue
comprehension.
is. Communication versus comprehension. People communicate that they would like these things, or they express to their partners or friendships this is something that they're interested in, right? But the other people don't comprehend the full totality of what they're actually talking about, where the source of this is coming from, and what that actually changes, and what the person is actually asking for you on your part. Because anytime folks come to people about things, it always comes off as, nah, that's your thing that you told me about. That ain't got nothing to do with me. And it's like, actually, no, you are always in my picture and in my environment. So this has a lot to do with you. And that's why I would like to have that conversations. And I mean, man, trust is heavy. Trust is heavy.
That's what I've been grappling with.
Yeah,
like,
trust is heavy.
Where, how integral trust is. And I think that's part of like that grief process too, is just like understanding that if trust is not there anymore, there's not, I mean, I'll say this, where I'm at today is like, I don't know how much there is to really do. I think patience and time and like all that other, time heals all wounds and all that stuff is great. But like, as someone who's sitting in the shit right now, listen, trust is a motherfucker. But once that shit is on, I'm like, I don't really know how that works. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to finding out as time goes on. But like,
it depends on the wound, honestly. I think it does depend on the wound. Cause like, all right, so, personal moment, right? Mm-hmm. My new relationship that I'm in right now, 4 years, coming up on 4 years, right? If I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And I still think of the dynamic of managing different families, right? And I don't have no kids, so it's not even that. It's the weight of managing 3 separate families and introducing people and being comfortable with the fact that this is my new reality, because you've lost someone, and whoever you're bringing is never the replacement for anyone. But that also means you're going to have other interactions. Like right now we're having the conversation of, hey, my family wants to see you for Christmas. And I'm like, but I usually do Christmas in New Jersey, and I usually do Thanksgiving here. Why can't your family members that want to meet me do Thanksgiving here? Because I'm already here. And they're like, well, these family members that want to meet me that haven't met me yet, they're usually available on Christmas. So now you're talking about changing a tradition that I've kept since like 2013 to now with my other family of the person who I've lost, who I'm still extremely close to their family, and that is my family, and saying, hey, you guys may not have me for this Thanksgiving after 12 years of Thanksgivings together, even after that person lost, and dealing with the weight of, are you making the right decision, or do you need to make this decision for the relationship? Because how much has this person you're with now sacrificed for you that you may not be aware of, as the person that's managing all these families and personalities between Lanham and Jersey and Temple Hills? And you're just like, damn, and Waldorf.
yeah.
And I think the weight of that, it's not crushing me, but there's an internal dialogue within yourself of what change are you uncomfortable with that this is going to bring after you make the right decisions of, hey, this is the relationship you're working on now. Everything you've had already. So whatever guilt you're feeling now or you're gonna feel, you need to let that run its course because you're working on this new family.
Right.
And that new family needs a certain amount of effort. They need a certain amount of openness. And unfortunately, as the busy person, they need you to be a certain amount of available now.
Yeah.
And what do those hard conversations look like? Because let me tell you, talk to my mom on this side, it's a very honest conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but like, when you adopt family, I think there's a certain amount of, I don't care about just you guys, I care about your feelings now. I care about what you guys worry about. I know your anxiety points. They've become my anxiety points, or I could at least recognize that. But for the person that's juggling that, I don't know if you've gone through that, you don't actually realize all the things that have changed within you. And those things, they don't come at you in a panic attack, but they do come in waves of, oh, I'm really not comfortable with this decision that's being made, but it's a necessary decision that's going to have to be made by you specifically. Yeah.
I think those are really difficult as far as like familial breakups.
Yeah.
Because to your point, there's that like, my current priority in terms of time and investment is this relationship, and as a result is this connection to this family over here. And you don't want to invalidate what has brought connections on this side.
Do you say that one part again without the yawn?
Yeah.
Yeah, just edit that out. Yeah.
I honestly don't remember what I said exactly.
Oh, without connections on this side. Just
without connections on this side.
Yeah.
But I think something to be considered is just, for lack of a better term, time and place. If I put myself in a like situation, the time that was invested, the relationships that were present, all of those things were byproducts of the romantic relationships that I was pursuing. And if I'm not in that, I have an obligation to let these other things go. It's not a betrayal to that relationship. It's just that relationship occurred as a byproduct.
Yeah.
That was not my intention.
Yeah.
And I have to deal with that accordingly.
Yeah. You see, that's my intention, though. If I fall in love with you, I'm falling in love with the family. I'm dating everybody.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And I think the thing with that, and this is something that I've come across that was new last year that I became aware of. Last year, I went to Thanksgiving at my family's house in Lanham, and then I went to the Temple Hills family. And on the way out the door, I remember all the kids being sad that I had to leave now. And it's like, oh, is that what adults are talking about when these little fucks look at us and they get sad and you feel something? Because that's a lot. And you get me, like, you're always going to love the adults as much as you love the kids. But for the kids, sometimes you start to think about their core memories and you start to realize, oh, I've been an integral part of their lives from when they were babies to kids to almost teenagers, and I'm usually here for the whole thing. And I leave with the family, and now dynamics have changed because I'm working on something new, and the kids and everybody, they know what's up, right? We live together. Everyone's been to the house, right? And now it's like, oh, the kids are becoming aware of their feelings of they're going to miss me and they only get me this one day.
Yeah.
And I think the balance with that I've grappled with, especially as someone that's like built this organization, does the interviews with everybody, the public events that we have coming together, is, hey, how much time are you making for your family? And if you're not making time for them, if you do start to make time, what does that take away from, and are you ready for that? Because you obviously care about these things, and you may not have had that real conversation with yourself of, hey, the shit might be hard for you soon if you're not careful about your feelings. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I don't know if you've gone through that, but like, I don't ever think you're gonna win everything, but I do think the things you care about, especially the things that we put together, that takes a certain amount of work. That's why I don't want to simply do something once for a year and then make these promises and we don't, not even deliver, don't show up. I think if I had a new tattoo that was just fresh, it would simply just say show up. That's it. Just as a reminder, hey, yes or no, did you show up? And that's it.
I think that's part of what I'm like grappling with is the feelings. Something that, okay, so you asked me earlier, you were like, you know, day in the shoes, what would somebody feel? And I said like pressure. It's like that weight of awareness.
Yeah.
There is nothing more miserable for me than the awareness, at least thus far. There has not been anything more miserable to me than the awareness that in many instances I will be someone's lesson. And that is it. Not that I don't get to like reconcile the lesson. I don't get to go, yo, it wasn't my intention. I don't get to fix it.
Yeah.
I just exist as a lesson to this person. That's it.
Yeah.
That shit fucking sucks as a habitual people pleaser.
Oh, are you a habitual people pleaser?
I think a lot of us are, but yeah, I definitely come from that background of like doing things in order to keep the people around me happy. So like the awareness that like, yo, you're just finna be some people's like lesson as far as like, oh, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
Because that, or because you.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of I did an interview recently, and they asked me about like romance and what I found romantic, and I was like, I'm actually
a magazine joint.
I think so.
Okay.
No. It was a different thing.
Okay, that was dope. I'll let you know that was a dope interview.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, oh, this is dope. Yeah.
But the question was about romance, and I said I was finding a lot of romance in grief. If you can't tell, grief has been a very consistent thing for the last like couple months. Yeah. And I was like, I'm finding a lot of romance in grief. Like there's that romance of just like, this was so overwhelmingly intense that, you know, the marker for it is you not being able to be at that level of intensity, like that idea of missing the feeling.
Yeah.
And damn, where was I going with this?
Grief, intensity, feeling.
Oh, so in terms of like being someone's lesson, the grief of just like not being able to control the way in which you leave a mark. Like there are some people who are going to make better decisions for their life because now they hate you. Yo, it's maybe, I don't know. That's not funny to me. I don't like that, but I feel where the funny comes from. But like,
I'm laughing because I'm in the middle of that right now. Yeah, no, I'm laughing.
Someone is making better decisions in their life today because they hate you for yesterday, and you'll never be able to change that. Yeah. No matter how sorry you are, no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you regret it or didn't mean for it to go that way. Yeah. Your intentions, your plans, blueprints, all that shit will never matter as much as the lesson that they got.
Yeah.
That in order for them to stand in, they gotta hate you now. That's the part that, like, that for me is the pressure. That's the weight of awareness where you're like, I can't take your hatred personally. Yeah. Because, and I'm speaking in hyperbole, right? Like, hatred is a very specific thing. But in terms of like relationships and that kind of hatred of like resentment, let's say resentment. In order for me to hold fast to the lesson, I will need to resent you for the rest of my life. Because the day I let that wall down, and the day I reconnect, is the day that I am constantly moving in fear that you're gonna do that shit again. Yeah. So I can't even love you as you are, because I'm too stuck on what you did.
Yeah, no, I got
that shit fucking sucks, bro.
No, it does. It does. What's ironic about this combo? You know how sports jokes, they be like, "Hey, first time, long time, first time caller."
Yeah.
had a first time, long time interview that was supposed to come out. I erased it. It wasn't going to happen. Right. An amazing interview. The person as an individual was super smart, super gifted. And I promised them that the interview was going to come out in the summer. Interview didn't come out because my girl had like back-to-back surgeries in February and one in April. And I was her caretaker in between. Being her caretaker, us looking for the new apartment, juggling episodes. And when you create content, contents are like events. And what's really important when it comes to contents and events is the flow of your episode and the craft and the story you tell. If you look at someone's content that they're making or the thing that they're focused on, if you look at the titles and you watch the content, you start to pick up on what the narrative really is and all the interviews and how the stories are woven together. And also, for 1/3 of that person's interview, it wasn't shot correctly. It was shot from the collarbone down. And I don't like to objectify women. If I could like avoid it, I'm not going to do that, especially on camera, right? And I let her know, and she was like, oh, just put it out audio-wise. When I looked at my platform, I'm like, nah, my platform is majority visual and audio, so it's very hard to tell someone that has a 5 to 6 year booklet of visual and audio to simply put something out as audio, because that now means, how do I package this? How do I pitch this? What is going to be a strong suit? What keeps people's attention? And what's the lesson going to be here if it's strictly audio?
Yeah.
And when the person approached me about it, which was a couple of weeks ago over in September, I let them know that, well, I plan to let it out during fall because what they do is date management in terms of dating coaches and stuff. And this content that you made, it has 3 strong seasons: cuffing season, Valentine's Day, the season coming up to that, and wedding season. Those are your strong points.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that, folks aren't really trying to hear about dating on a platform that doesn't cover dating.
Facts.
And she did a great job tying in mental health. But it was the way she approached me and didn't hear what I had to say, which comes back to the conversation and comprehension, because they were drunk. And then after I let them know it was coming out during cuffing season, they lingered around at my job for like hours and change. When I decided to go talk to someone after being focused on edits and working on other stuff, they approached me again and said, all right, well, can you explain to me why isn't it coming out? And I just remember I was about to lose it. And instead of losing it, I caught myself right at the edge and said, hey, let's get on a phone call this week and talk about it. When I tried to reach out, there was no call, no response. And I was like, hey, trash it.
Yeah.
You're now going to be someone's lesson, but trash it.
Right.
But what I know about myself, it's not my job to give a fuck. It's not. It's my job to take care of all the other voices that I have a chance to curate and put together and put out their lessons for the rest of the world. And if there's a couple of people that we don't get along, especially on the business, that you never want to put content out by somebody that doesn't have a good relationship with you, because that does affect your platform.
Facts.
That affects a rollout. It can affect how you're spoken on and how that reflects on your actions. And I'd rather take a bullet, you feel what I'm saying, when it comes to that, than make the mistake of putting someone's content out there that no longer believes in the platform because of our disagreement. Our disagreement shouldn't affect how you feel about the platform. But if our disagreement, that to me, I think they were justified in their anger. I just want to be straight about that.
Yeah.
But if our disagreement turns into something that we can no longer communicate, we can no longer talk, you're simply angry and you want what you want, and we're no longer discussing what's happening, then you're really putting you and yours at risk if you put this person's thing out there because of loyalty.
Yeah.
Because if the person isn't loyal enough to you to understand what you're saying, or only show up to talk to you when they're drunk, then the concept of what you're putting out there, you now need to be careful with, because it's like, are you really taking care of what you need to when it comes to the business of what it is that we put together?
Right.
And I think that's something that we need to talk about, the business side of all this work that we do, and how careful we have to be as we navigate this space. Because a lot of people's like, you've done so much for me, but on the back end, we have to be really careful about how we go about the work that we do, who's in our rooms, who we let into our homes, who doesn't get to have access to us on a certain point. Because like, the work happens because we've created these boundaries, and are consistent is what attracts people to not only do more work with us, but look for other versions of the things that we've created so they can get that from other places too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
because for me, it's an extension of like the battle against people pleasing, where it's like by creating and
pleaser.
if you hear me, but like creating and sticking to those boundaries, especially for people who are just going through it. To my point about being people's lessons, they become that much more powerful. They have that much more agency.
Yeah.
And you know, again, like there's just my adherence to like, fuck, I didn't want to be someone's negative experience that led to them having that thing. But it's just inevitable that you will.
If you exist, it's gonna happen.
Period.
Yeah. And
someone's gonna overextend themselves. It doesn't fault to responsibility. You know what I mean? Like I had that conversation with my son recently.
Yeah.
Where he got hit with like a bullying rap for something because he was in a group of kids that was doing a thing.
Yeah.
Because this kid was being manipulative. And so it's like, I believe my son. I believe you. You didn't go off. You just said this one thing. You just said your 4 words. But the 4 words that you said were in conjunction with all these other words that were coming towards this person. So it may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility.
You're a part of the collective.
In terms of how you contribute, how you show up, what you hold people accountable to, what you join in with, all that stuff. And it's like, it sucks and it feels gross.
Yeah.
Because you're like, now I'm like next to. Yeah, because you were next to.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about where you want to stand there?
Yeah, it is. And whether it's you cutting someone in the bus line or you getting a deal that someone else feels they deserved, and they think about, well, what did that person do to get that or put themselves in position, and that should have been me. And it's like, you're always going to be someone's lesson, whether you realize it or not. The first day you take a breath, you're someone's lesson.
Facts.
Yeah. What do you, I don't want to say deliver. I don't think that's a good word for you because I know you better now than that. But what do you expect to give the people from the events that we plan on doing together? Because it's literally tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I like to look back at this stuff and be like, damn, we really did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gift is perspective. I have not literally, but as an analogy, I have a 360-degree camera all times.
Yeah.
So the scope of what I saw and how it informs your experience is usually, I think that's the biggest gift that I give people. Because the most common response is, never thought about it like that. And it's like, you wouldn't have, you didn't see it. You were over there.
But now you're here. Yeah.
So I think perspective is always the main intention. If I can provide perspective or gain perspective, I did my thing.
All right, well, this has been another episode of Mental Monday. Appreciate y'all for pulling up, coming out, chilling with my boy Neil. Where could the people find you?
You find me on Instagram at Neeknil, Neekneel, or nil.art, nnil.art. It's the website, has all the information there. I'm going to be putting a lot more information around what alignment coaching is, how it works, what it looks like, so people get more of an idea. But yeah, stay tuned, a whole lot more to come.
And what should people expect from the recorded events in person that we're going to be doing in the ongoing future?
What should people expect from the
ongoing events that we're going to do, like the recorded in-person events?
I think I said to a client recently, if I'm able to reintroduce you to yourself, I've done my job. And so when I bring people into this space, because we've been patterning things where it's like, okay, we should probably make this like an expected part of the experience. A lot of it is designed to get you reacquainted with your body and how it's communicating with you, like all the fucking time, and helping you codify it so that you can respond appropriately. But most people, if you think about going to like a foreign country and people are speaking, and no matter how eloquent they are, you're relying on body language and gesturing and what they're pointing at in order to get an idea of what's being communicated to you. Most people do that with their own body. And there is a personal language that you guys have established since you were born that you just forgot that you speak. So when you come to the sessions or the things that I'm trying to teach people how to do, sometimes people get caught up in like the belief systems, or they get caught up in like the woo-woo stuff or the divination or whatever. This is all designed to get you back in sync with communication with your body so that comprehension can occur in the same vessel. But like communication and comprehension is the holistic experience, and a lot of people don't have the tools to create that cohesion.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach is really centered around.
Tool, practice, and understanding. That's what I expect to bring to what we're doing starting tomorrow forward.
Yo.
And the reason I want cameras in that space, especially when it comes to making spaces for men and men to be vulnerable, is I think that there needs to be a better packaging of what does vulnerability sound and look like.
Yeah.
And what does presenting that space look like? Because I always want others to copy the things that I'm doing or we're doing and practicing what that looks like and bringing that to their spaces. Because I think there's a limit to who we can reach. I think one day we'll reach a lot of people, but until that day, I would like other people to receive those tools and the examples of it and start to just see a rollout of seeing it so much that someone says, I should be doing that. And I really hope they consider why they want to do that and the purpose is that they're doing that for their community, and that translates well for the people that need it.
Absolutely. Because to even just to that point, right?
Yeah.
This is for you. This is for you. The person that was thinking about coming, this is for you. There's a difference between being emotionally intelligent and being emotionally intimate. What you're looking for is emotionally intimate. You keep telling people you're emotionally intelligent. Come learn how to be emotionally intimate. That's the missing piece.
Yeah. That was a damn good interview, man.